while you're all just kind of coming back from that little meditative moment, if you'll just be patient with me, I haven't tweeted yet today, and all my Twitter followers, well, they're really waiting for my morning post. Just starting my talk at the 11 o'clock service, creating a 4G life. Just, there's the tweet button. There we go. And you know, as long as you're all here, I haven't posted anything on Facebook, so I take my camera just a second. But if you smile, then later on, I'm working to keep up with technology, right? Okay, there's my camera. Smile. Now, don't worry, you're so far away in this little picture, your face is, nobody's going to really know who you are, but I appreciate the enthusiasm of the smile and the waves I saw in the back of the room. I'm trying to get up with the current technology. 12-year-olds know more than me. It's really some days pretty demoralizing. But I captured this marketing phrase for cell phone technology, a 4G life. And I thought, that's kind of cool. Now, in technology, you know, it's all about speed and power and efficiency and getting it done. And I thought, that's pretty much what I want going on in my life as well. So I might translate that a little. Aren't all of us looking for a fully equipped spiritual toolkit? Something we can put our hand in every day when we need and just draw out the thing that's going to carry us along in that moment. Well, when I was a child, my father was one of those guys that could do everything. And I was always in his way because I wanted to learn. When I was 5, he made a paint booth in our garage and painted our family car and 3 or 4 other friends. And, you know, I ended up like peeling the wrong tape from the wrong plate in the way, but I wanted to learn. And when he was building something, I was right there like trying to climb on the table saw. Not good safety practice. Or I'd put my nose under the sink with him when he was fixing the plumbing. I hung insulation with him when he rebuilt our summer cabin. And, you know, I just was always in there wanting to learn and do. And one thing Dad taught me in those experiences was, whatever you're doing, Margie, have good tools. Have good tools. It matters. Well, I, in my adult life, became a quilter and a textile artist, and I want you to know I have good tools. I am a woman who likes power tools, and I have the will to use them. Having good tools is useful in whatever area of life. So if we're not really going to, I'm not really going to give you a technology talk today because it isn't in me. I'm scrambling to try and learn. What we are going to talk about are the 4Gs I think matter in our spiritual life. Gratitude, giving, guidance, and most of all, grace. So let's see if we can pack a toolbox for y'all before we leave today. Charles Fillmore is the co-founder of the Unity movement, and he had this to say about gratitude. Gratitude, even on the mental plane, is a great magnet, and when gratitude is expressed from the spiritual standpoint, it is powerfully augmented. Now, I don't think I'd ever used the word augmented before in a sentence in my life, but that's Mr. Fillmore for you. He liked a quarter word where a nickel might do. He's just speaks from that era in which he began his ministry and his writing work, which is the late 1800s. So sometimes a little translation helps. Gratitude in our human life is useful. It's helpful. But when we combine it with spiritual energy, we magnify the power and movement of gratitude in our lives exponentially. Oops, quarter word. Sorry. That means big. Whew, big. When we are struggling, some days there's just no other word for it. It's a problem. It isn't an opportunity. And when we are struggling, what that means is we've just lost the connection to God temporarily. It's like a case of spiritual amnesia. In my life, one of the things that has often brought me back to center more quickly than anything else is a daily practice of gratitude. So I pick it up and I set it down. I pick it up and I set it down, a gratitude journal, where every night before I go to bed, I write down a list of 5 things I'm grateful for that day. And sometimes that sticks with me and sometimes it doesn't. Now, if you've tried a gratitude journal and said, let me share a few other simple ones. because this is something I think is important for us to know about our spiritual life, is simplicity. Anybody else in the room knocking their head against the doorway of the most difficult way to do anything in your life? I have stumbled with that one all my life. If there is a way to make it difficult, I know how to do that. So I invite myself to think simply, because simply is often so very potent. Rather than imagining the spiritual life and an easeful movement in your spiritual path has to be difficult, just imagine that it can be simple. So I can offer you a few other simple ways to express gratitude. One is blessing the food that you eat. Now, I didn't grow up in a family where we asked blessing at every meal, but I have begun that as a practice in my adult life. Being conscious of thankfulness for not only what I'm eating, but the energy that went into it, maybe the hands that prepared it, and most especially that as I take it in, it is bonded with the spiritual energy that makes it not only nourishment for my physical being, but nourishment for my mind, my heart, my soul, my spiritual self, completely. This next week, I get to go to Los Angeles, and I get to be tutu for a week. I get to have grandmother time with my granddaughters. And in my phone calls with them, and I get to do this now every night when I put them to bed, I will ask them, what was the best part of your day? Anybody you're really thankful for? Anything you appreciate about today? So that they have a model of gratefulness, of gratitude in their life. Sometimes it's enough to get a practice going in our own life. We forget that we're great influencers of the children around us, whether we birthed them or not. We can share simple, easy tools for life-affirming living. And doing a simple, how was today and what'd you like best about it with a child is an easy way to open the path of gratitude. I wanted to share with you a series of affirmations to plant these thoughts within us firmly, to further invite yourself into each of these practices. And the affirmation for gratitude is, I begin and end each day with a grateful heart. And I would invite you to claim that for yourself with me this morning and say together, I begin and end each day with a grateful heart. Our words clearly are powerful. We teach in Unity that we can transform our situations, our lives, our relationships by being thoughtful in our spoken word. One of the pieces of work that I have run across that has been particularly meaningful for me in the arena of gratitude and understanding the power of my word is a Japanese physicist and alternative medical practitioner named Dr. Masaru Emoto. He believed that words could shape substance, could transform physical things. And so he took polluted water from a lake in Japan, put it in a container, and froze it, and then photographed the crystalline structure of that water. And if it was in its original state, the crystalline structure looked all yucky and misshapen and not whole. This is the same polluted water that had the words love and gratitude taped on the container for 24 hours. And then it was frozen again and photographed for its crystalline structure. The words love and gratitude transformed it into an amazingly beautiful crystalline snowflake type representation. Our bodies are 60 to 70% water. Here is the great truth that we have the power to transform every aspect of our life by treating us, by exposing our being to words of truth, words of appreciation, words of love. And our next G in the series is giving. Ernest Wilson was a powerful Unity minister in the mid-1900s and a prolific author. He writes, giving and receiving are the two halves of the law of prosperity, as exhaling and inhaling are the halves of the process of breathing. Everything in our life truly is us flow, a complete cycle of one kind or another. Giving is balanced by receiving. If you want an experiment for this, I invite you to pick one, either inhaling or exhaling, it doesn't matter which one, and decide to stop. Not going to get you very far. And it's true with any of these full cycle processes in our life. To experience the benefit, to know and appreciate the truth, we have to step into both halves of the experience. There's a story that began really in this community, Honolulu as a whole, but the perpetrator, if you will, was right here at Unity in the time when John Strickland was the minister here. His administrator was Carol Ann Driscoll. This was also during the time of the Clinton administration, and the war in Bosnia was raging. Carol Ann could not get the images of the little children traumatized by war out of her mind. And she had to do something. Spirit called her to do something. She's quite the organizer, and she managed to amass a bunch of little stuffed animals that she intended to send to Bosnia, to these children. Now, some people said, well, Carol Ann, why aren't you collecting blankets or donating to the Red Cross or, you know, something practical and tangible? And Carol Ann said, because those children need to be reminded of love. And so she had a crew of volunteers, and they collected these animals, and each little animal was held with the intention of going to a child with love. And it had a tag, a heart-shaped tag that said, with love from Hawaii, with aloha. And she was determined to get these animals, just 26,000 of them, to Bosnia. She found a military contact here in the area, a gentleman who was willing to take the animals and go. And so she arranged, you know, newspaper interview, photo opportunity, all these military people and her crew all came, and it was a whole big hoo-ha. And when it was all done, the military guy said, well, ma'am, I can take 5,000. 5 from 26, that leaves 21,000 animals still stuck here, and she wasn't sure what she was going to do. She stood there in tears in the aftermath of this press conference, and one of the gentlemen who had come to be present was an executive with Northwest Airlines. And he said, well, ma'am, I will get your 21,000 animals to Bosnia for you. So Northwest Airlines, free of charge, got them on their way. Now, they got hung up in Germany in customs, and they were just sitting there languishing. Carol Ann thought, okay, there's a way, I don't know what it is. And she saw on the news that Hillary Clinton was traveling to Bosnia. How big can you think, folks? Carol Ann went to an internet cafe at 3 in the morning, talked to the, you know, probably 18-year-old guy who knew everything about the internet, and said, how would I get in touch, send an email to Hillary Clinton? And they did. They did. And Mrs. Clinton said yes. And so probably her staff, I'm sure, not she personally, put 21,000 little critters, got them out of customs, put them on her plane, and flew them into Bosnia. And they were delivered to a military officer, a Marine officer, who was charged with distributing them to children. Months later, here comes the other half of the circle. 26,000 animals going to Bosnia, that's giving. Here's the receiving. Carol got a phone call from the Marine officer and said, ma'am, I wish you'd been with us. When we put those animals in the hands of those children, the smiles lit up the place. He said, I'm guessing these children haven't smiled in months, and I wish you could have seen it. Not only made the children happy, touched all of us who were there. He said, there were Marines crying all over the place. So I don't feel quite so bad. I'm a little tearful about it, still telling this story for the third time today. What a beautiful full cycle experience. To do something, to be so determined, to know that that called from within you. God said, here's your assignment today, my wonderful, magnificent child, to step up and do. How beautiful is that? Our affirmation, to move us into the process, whatever we may be called to do. Hopefully it won't be for you 26,000 stuffed animals, but whatever we are called to do, that we step into the call with our hearts open. I give and receive freely, generously, with an open heart and an open mind. Will you join me in claiming that this morning? I give freely and generously with an open heart and an open mind. Yes, indeed. Now, guidance. This is kind of a fun or a tricky one, depending on where you are in learning the process. It can be hard to understand if you're hearing that greater voice within yourself, or if that's just the little ego chit-chatting over here in your mind's behind my right ear. But wherever it may come, Charles Fillmore again speaks volumes about the process of guidance. There are two ways to get understanding. One is to follow the guidance of the Spirit that dwells within. I will tell you now, this is the wisdom path, because the rest of it is. And the other is to go blindly ahead and learn by hard experience. I'm a member of that club. Yeah. Been there, done that over and over and over and over in my life. Even sometimes when I hear the guidance, I will stumble on thinking I know where I should be going. And God's just waiting patiently for me to come to. Yesterday I heard a beautiful story about guidance. Lucy Volker's here this morning, and she shared a story with a group of us women who were together that she was living a really good life in Hamburg, Germany. Things were going really well professionally. She was on track in her music career. She was learning acting and about to open in a production with a theater team. Her parents had just bought her an apartment. Life was good. And she was just in that stage of learning about spiritual understanding and how guidance worked. And she had a dream one night, flying in a plane, and the plane circled the Statue of Liberty. And the statue said, "Come to America. Come to New York." Whoa. That doesn't fit in my nice life. But I'm following guidance. That's what I'm learning. I'm going to do that. So she went to her director and said, sorry, I'm going to be gone for a week. I know we're right near the end of the rehearsal, but I'll be back. And she got on a plane in the face of many people telling her this made no sense whatsoever, came to New York. She had experiences of synchronicity, those unbelievably marvelous little coming together all the way through her week. Someone offered her a business card that flew with her on the plane and said, "If you need any help, you poor young woman coming to a strange country, if you need any help, you call me, because I have resources, and I would come to your aid and fix a problem or whatever." Well, she just tucked that away, and she stayed in a hostel. 2 days later, she woke up in the hostel, came down in the morning, and there was the same gentleman. He'd had a call to leave where he was in Washington, D.C., because he should come back and see if he could find her, and he didn't know where to look. She had his number. It didn't go the other way, and he ended up in the same hostel with her. Little miracle after miracle unfolded in that week, and she went home feeling like she'd had a year's experience in that 1 week's time because she listened to the voice of guidance. Then later on, that inner calling said, "Come to America." And that other voice, that one I know so well, "Oh, that doesn't make any sense. I don't know how I do that. I don't have the money. It doesn't work in my schedule right now. Nobody would support that. I don't want to stand up and be the only one doing it." And she didn't. Oopsie. Because then life begins to fall apart when we don't answer the call of Spirit. And things got kind of rocky for Lucy. But she figured it out. She came to understand that all she needed to do was follow the guidance she would receive, and the path would become straight and easeful yet again. And that's what happened. She found herself led to a job, allowed her to save all the money she made from the job because they provided board and room. She bought her ticket. She came to America. She wandered her way across the country until, lo and behold, she found herself in Hawaii. And here, she met the man of her dreams. I'm holding on to that story, I'm telling you. Answering the call of guidance, even when it doesn't seem to make sense, even when you wonder, really? When we answer, The guides, it's like opening the floodgates of guidance, and the experiences keep happening if we will place ourselves in that listening to the Spirit that dwells within. One with the mind of God, I am clearly guided. Will you invite yourself into this experience of guidance this morning with me? One with the mind of God, I am clearly guided. And grace. This is the most beautiful aspect, I think, of all for me. This is Eric Butterworth, another prolific Unity author and well-known Unity minister, served in New York City for a long time. Grace explains the inadequacy of the idea of karma, the endless cycle of cause and effect. It is true that as you sow, so do you reap. Yet God's desire is to express completely through you and as you is so great that you never completely reap the harvest of error, and you always reap more good than you sow. Thank you, God. Thank you. This is grace. Yeah. Charles Fillmore has said about grace that the laws of God surpass the laws of man. We get stuck in our human understanding, and thank you to know, folks, we can't screw it up so badly that God can't straighten it out. I say thank you to that one every day. Whatever is going on in our life can be turned right side up. And part of it is that thing I invite you into every Sunday morning. I know I'm in the right place at the right time right now. Sometimes we have to wait to see what the end of that particular journey is, to see what the good is that's hiding in the mess. But if we will trust that, grace opens around us in every moment. One of the beautiful things that illustrates for this aspect for me is a story from Genesis. We all know this story. It's Joseph, he of the Technicolor coat. Joseph was the youngest of 11 brothers, and he was Daddy's favorite. Being the last and the only girl, I know something about being Daddy's favorite. I think that's why I like this story. But the older brothers had had just about enough of Joseph and his arrogance over being Dad's favorite. And they knew what to do with him to fix that rascal. They sold him into slavery. Now, I wonder along the way how Joseph thought, where's the good coming in this story? Years passed. I'm sure the family thought he was long dead. Not a plague. A famine. Thank you. A famine came to the land of Israel where Jacob's family was. And they're near starvation, and the only salvation is to go to Egypt, where the land is rich and the crops abundant. And they find themselves in front of Pharaoh's storehouse. And there they see the chief financial officer. Not bad for a guy who was sold into slavery by his brothers. They recognized their brother Joseph. And here's what happened. When Joseph's brothers finally realized who he was and that he was saving their lives, they begged his forgiveness. The brothers went in person to him, threw themselves on the ground before him, and said, "We'll be your slaves." Joseph replied, "Don't be afraid. Do I act for God? Don't you see? You planned evil against me, but God used those same plans for my good. As you see all around you right now, many, many lives saved. Easy now. You have nothing to fear. I'll take care of you and your children," he reassured them, speaking to them heart to heart. So to come to the end of the story, to see what a mess had started out in the beginning, and yet good came out of it in great measure. Grace is all around us when we just are aware, simply aware, and trust that that's the process working in the world. I live my life with ease and grace. Will you join me in claiming that for yourself this morning? I live my life with ease and grace. I invite you, if you wish, to close your eyes, to come into a place of centering, where within you can meet the presence of God represented in your practice of incorporating gratitude, giving, coming open to guidance, and feeling grace all around you. When our hearts are open and we choose these aspects of spiritual living, we have a useful, full spiritual toolkit. And we are able to meet the world as God would have us experience it. So we center ourselves here this morning as we come to God in the silence.